Welcome everyone to Talk Wrestling here on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel and of course NoDQ.com. Thank you all first of all for the interest in this little ditty right here. Stay tuned. That's all I have to say about the shirt for now, but it is in the works. Fear not, we will get you your shirts if we can, okay? Let's get right into your questions today. Lots of stuff to cover, lots of news to cover, but they're woven into the questions, so we'll go ahead and get to it. First ones today come from Jason Simone at Simone1. Has there ever been a bigger flop talent-wise in WWE than Gallows and Anderson in recent history of WWE? Oh, not flop of talent necessarily, Jason, but I think they've been grossly misused, as has much talent in WWE recently. But it looks like they're going to hopefully get them back on track now that the New Day has lost the Tag Team Championships. Maybe Gallows and Anderson will be challenging Sheamus and Cesaro on a regular basis, I hope. Those guys are both way too good to be languishing in joke storylines and mediocrity and mid-card status. They are probably the toughest tag team in WWE today, as far as their credentials go, and as far as their work rate goes, and as far as who they've faced in Japan and things like that. So I think there is hope for them yet. Biggest flop so far, that's debatable, but I can see where you're going with that, absolutely. He also says, thoughts on the kendo stick seemingly replacing the steel chair. Yeah, we've seen the kendo stick used a lot on WWE, especially Raw, recently. It's probably a safer weapon than the steel chair. The kendo stick, you can I've been hit with a kendo stick myself, so I know that it has less impact on the body than does a steel chair. And remember, chair is completely hard. It is what it is. It's a steel chair. The kendo stick has just a smidge of bend to it, at least the ones I've been hit with. But they do damage nonetheless. But I think that's a conscious decision by WWE to lessen the injury to their talent. And he really wants to know my thoughts on the first episode of Bring It to the Table on the WWE Network. I thought that show was horrible. And that's what I get for insulting people. That's not a knock on JBL or Paul Heyman, the host guy. I could have been in that spot and done better as a WWE fan. I could have done better with that spot than could Peter Rosenberg. He came off as just intimidated. He came off as just like he didn't know a lot of what he was talking about, and that's not good. I'm not saying I'm an expert. People accuse me of, blowing my own horn and say I'm an expert. But I do, hopefully, to you guys, at least the true fans of Talk Wrestling, come off better than he did on Bring It to the Table. Another Jason. This is from 1983, Jason. What do you expect from The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels when they show up on Monday Night Raw? What happened to Taker on SmackDown? Well, as we learned on Bring It to the Table, we don't call him Taker, we call him Undertaker. Undertaker is a talent unto his own. He can go wherever he wants to go. He's not signed to Raw anymore. He's not signed to SmackDown anymore. He is signed to WWE as a attraction performer. He will go where he chooses to go. As far as Shawn Michaels, you gotta believe this is going to be the build toward the Royal Rumble. It's in San Antonio. It's at the Alamo Dome where he had his big moment with Sid and Jose Lothario was there. Shawn Michaels being there in January ultimately leads to Rumble Talk. Will he be in the Rumble? Will he be at WrestleMania? I for one, part of me hopes that he is the one guy that sticks to his retirement situation. But there's that small fan right here where my lack of soul is. Right on the DQ logo, apparently. Boom, right there. That wants to see him go one more round. So we'll see what happens. Andy McManus says, do you think WWE has backed himself into a corner with how long Asuka has been undefeated? There's no competition for her. Yeah, it seems that there is no competition for the NXT Women's Champion. Asuka has beaten everybody put in front of her. You talk about Bayley, you talk about Nia Jax, talk about Mickie James, talk about Liv Morgan, you talk about everybody that's been put in front of her. She's been able to conquer, if you will. I'll be interested to see, because she's now the longest reigning champion in NXT Women's history. There's no, she's got the record. She surpassed Paige. I would like to see maybe a situation where she is somehow jobbed the championship, so to speak. Make her want it that much more, but they have to do something different to get the title off of her, because she's beaten everybody. She's proven she's dominant. So what will she do? I cannot wait to see. All right, Kyle Allen at John Bravestar has 3 really good questions for me, one of which involves current news, so we'll get to that in just 1 second. He first asked me, should Jim Crockett Jr. have not bought the UWF and stayed between Chicago and Baltimore? Well, that's very much a Ric Flair quote that he talks about in his one of his DVDs, or one of the DVDs that we produced. Yeah, I think if Crockett had stayed between the Midwest of the United States and the East Coast, he may still be in business, as Ric Flair has said. I would love to see what would have happened had Crockett stayed in business and been able to not necessarily give in to the buy from Ted Turner, and see if the Crockett's could actually have competed with WWE, the WWF back then, of course, once the WWF really took off. Because they had already taken off. They had the WrestleManias, they had Hogan, they had the Warrior coming in, they had Randy Savage, they had all those guys. I would have loved to see what Jim Crockett would have done with his talent pool and his direction had he not had to sell to Ted Turner in 1988. Why doesn't Vince use his own U.S. Championship history instead of the Jim Crockett WCW title? Because the WCW title is greater prestige. If you look at the history of the WWF United States Championship, yeah, you've got Bobo Brazil, but that's really it. There's no real huge talent there that held that championship. With Crockett, you've got, Lugers and Stings and Ravishing Rick Rudes and Lex in the 80s, and Michael Hayes and Harley Race and Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine and the guys that held it post buyout, and even the WWF champions that were the Alliance era. You had Tajiri and Rhino and Kurt Angle, and Edge was the last champion. That championship had such prestige in the 80s and 90s that Vince couldn't help but adopt it, I'm sure. And then the big question from Kyle today. What is your take on Anthem Sports having acquired majority interest in TNA and Dixie joining the advisory board? That happened literally last night as I was leaving my son's skating lesson, I should say. Yeah, Dixie Carter has been removed as she resigned as chairman from Impact Ventures, or whatever this company was called. Forgive me for not knowing that off the top of my head. And Anthem Sports is now in charge of TNA. Aaron didn't think something was a big deal. I was going to go on the show with him and have him cover it together, he and I, as a big news brief, but he seemed not interested. I think this is a big deal. I think this could seriously help TNA if Anthem knows what they're doing. Now, they've had stock in TNA for a while already, and we've seen where TNA has gone in recent years. Other than the Matt Hardy storylines, not a whole lot to offer up. So I'm hopeful that whatever happens with this new buyout, this new purchase, this new direction TNA is going to take, it will improve Impact Wrestling, and we'll definitely see a better product, hopefully, going forward. Aaron Jones at Hova Jones. Predict the top 3 matches of WrestleMania this year. Undertaker Cena. Owens Jericho. Lesnar Goldberg. Reigns will be in there. I don't know what match he's going to be in. Probably for, I don't know. I see Owens Jericho happening because they've been teasing that. Goldberg Lesnar is going to happen. That's almost a given. And the Undertaker Cena is they're building toward that as we go into the Rumble. So those will be my 3 that'll happen for sure. Doom Reverb at King 12 String. Tell us WWE talent in the last 3 years you had high hopes for but never really reached their full potential. In the last 3 years. So that's going back to 2014. Now, because 2017 is Happy New Year, everybody, by the way. If you didn't hear me on the show with Aaron, Happy New Year. God, I can't really think of anybody. Everybody, there's been a few. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's been quite a few of God, I can't even. I'm just trying to think people that are still on the roster that haven't made their. You know who? I'll tell you who it is right now. The last 3 years, the Vaudevillains. English and Gotch have had such hype on them when they got called up. And yeah, Simon got in trouble with whatever was going on with him. But I think those two guys are way too talented. So talented that they should not be jobbing every single week on SmackDown. And they are. I think that's garbage. I think those guys are awesome. And I think that they have not lived up to their full potential. And hopefully they change that as 2017 rolls along. Daniel Lynch had 2 questions for me. Should Bo Dallas join the Wyatt family? Yes. I've said that for a long time. Bo's creative direction has been lackluster since the breakup of the Social Outcast, even during the Social Outcast breakup, honestly. But I think he'd be a good fit. I think it'd be interesting to see what Bray would do with his brother as far as a member of the Wyatt family. And then, should WWE bring back the King of the Ring as one of the big 5 pay-per-views? Normally, any other time I would have said yes. But with the brand extension, the thing of the King of the Ring is that you had the Royal Rumble that feeds into WrestleMania. You had the King of the Ring that feeds into SummerSlam. And you had Survivor Series that fed in the Royal Rumble, kind of, sort of. But the King of the Ring winner would challenge the champion. At least that's what they were intending to do in 2002 when Lesnar, of course, challenged the champion at SummerSlam, defeated The Rock. If it was one company, one brand, I would say bring back the King of the Ring and have him challenge the champion. But with two brands, that'd be kind of hard. I mean, unless they want to have a Raw versus SmackDown King of the Ring, and then have the winner challenge his brand champion, which would be an interesting twist. That'd be kind of cool. Let's see. This is from @Ricky Lawson. Have you seen Brandy Rhodes wrestle, and what are your thoughts? Because in my opinion, she makes Eva Marie look like Shawn Michaels. Wow. I have not seen Brandy wrestle. That is a pretty strong claim, my friend. Because Eva Marie, at least what we've seen of her wrestle, is not so good. So if Brandy wrestles better than Eva Marie, or worse than Eva Marie, her career is not going to go very far, wherever she is. TNA, WWE, Ring of Honor, wherever. If she's going to wrestle, it won't be good. Hopefully she'll be a manager and a ring announcer, or whatever she wants to do. Wrestling, I have yet to see it, so I can't make a judgment on that. If what you say is true, Ricky, and she's worse than Eva Marie, then my goodness, what a short career she will have. This is from Mike @PunkFan123. Should WWE consider using 2 creative teams for each brand? That way, when one team is burned out, they can use the other team. I think that's a question of manpower. I think it's a question of keeping people on salary than it is anything else. Remember, they pay each of those creative guys rather handsomely to write the TVs every week. So if you have 2 creative teams for Raw and 2 creative teams for SmackDown, you're paying a lot of people through the nose to write your TVs. I would say have 1 for each show, no question. That way the shows are different, but not 2 for each show. That's a little bit overkill. Let's see. Deontay Rose @DSmooth210. Is Rick Rude going to get his Hall of Fame induction anytime soon? Thanks. Yes, hopefully he will. Rick Rude, I think, is one of those talents that is grossly overlooked in the history of professional wrestling. I think he doesn't get near enough credit for as good as he was. I had friends of mine that say he wasn't that good. He was that good. He was great in World Class. He was great in the WWF. He was unbelievable in WCW when he was wrestling. And then he was a great add-on to DX and an even better addition to the NWO toward the end of his life. He's too good to not be in the Hall of Fame. No question about that. All right, let's see. Last one today is going to be from Adam at Diamond or Demon. How did you feel about Wrestle Kingdom 11? I have not seen Wrestle Kingdom. I made a point on Twitter of saying I had not seen any Wrestle Kingdoms. I haven't seen a New Japan event, period. Which is not good on me as a wrestling fan not seeing New Japan events. I will say I am happy that Cody won his debut match at New Japan. I will say I'm overjoyed that Adam Cole regained the Ring of Honor World Championship. Congratulations to him. Shout out to the Bullet Club. They had kind of a rough fight, at least the Elite did. The Young Bucks lost their titles. Kenny Omega lost his title match. So I almost want to. I do. I don't. I want to see those guys get signed to WWE, like the Bucks, like Omega, like Cody returning. But they're doing so well in Japan and on the Indies for themselves. Why pigeonhole yourself to WWE? I had not seen it. I want to see it. Let me know how I can find it, guys. That's it for Talk Wrestling this week. We will see you guys more next time.